Hello, world. It's time for a quick computer history lesson to understand something about the tactile sense, our feel for the environment, our feel for the environments, and how it relates to computers. Specifically, how nobody has a feel for their environment anymore. So, we're going to go through some history. We're going to look at a particular conundrum today and try to reason out why it is that this conundrum, which seems really obvious, has come upon us. It's best epitomized by this tweet today by Joe Brown, who wrote this morning: I'm sitting here in the dark in my toddler's room because the light is controlled by Google Home. Rethinking a lot right now. Why is it Joe Brown has to rethink his decision to give control over the light switch in his child's room to some corporation who now has literally kept the lights off in his house? It's kind of funny, but it's also kind of terrifying that we've managed to feel our way into this situation and now are going to pretty much be experiencing a collective panic when we realize just what it is we've wandered into. So to look at that, we have to consider the history of the cloud. So here's how computers used to work, say, 50 years ago, 60 years ago. It's called the terminal mainframe time sharing. So here's some prestigious university with its big elaborate computer system. And once everyone gave up time cards and started giving people real-time interfaces to the computer, that took the form of a teletype or a terminal, which was just a way for everyone to use one computer at the same time. And literally, everyone would get a fraction of a second of the computer's time to talk to them, 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 talk to them. And so your terminal was just one little interface that was getting a little bit of time to get the next letter, to hear the next letter that you're typing, so that you can interface kind of smoothly in the shared environment where everyone has their terminal, which is all connected to one computer. It feels like the terminal is the computer because you're sitting there, you're talking to the computer screen's talking to you. It feels like it's all in one, except really, through the instantaneous nature of electricity, the computer is actually, down the hall, across the campus, a mile away. You're calling in over a telephone line, right? This is how the computer interface itself is separated from the actual computer, between the terminal, which is the end of the line, and the mainframe. Now, this split between the interface and the server at the end, you can look at that as how the internet works, right? So the traditional client-server model, back in the 90s, early 90s, suddenly the web was invented and everyone had to go get a website. So you had to go pay for a server somewhere out in the world to hold on to your website, to host the files. And then everyone back at home could go to, www.mystupidsite.com and go see your stupid site. And what you were paying for was for some real machine out there, an actual machine that exists, to sit there and just send your website out to every single computer who wanted to download the files that made it up, right? So the server is a physical machine. Now, let's say there's a flood in the city that your server is located in, and your computer is in the basement, and all of a sudden it's underground. Congratulations, your website's now offline. It's not very secure in that regard because it's one machine. The whole life of the website depends on that server that you're paying for, right? Now, meanwhile, you're back at home, and you've got your computer, and you use your computer to visit your site and update your site, and you've got your own little home electronics like your little Palm Pilot. I'm never going to shut up about my Palm Pilot, because basically that's your little computer, and it connects directly to your computer on your desk, right? So you plug it in, you sync it up, you put it back in your pocket, you got all your stuff on the go, you bring it back home, you put it back, you sync it up, right? Between your PDA, your personal computer, pocket computer, and your computer at home, there's nothing in between them and there's nothing outside of them. They comprise their whole little private little ecosystem all in of itself. And that's what it means to actually own your own computer and to own your own system. This is what I would consider to be the ideal setup for anybody at home with just their personal private needs, right? Everything you feel is going on and nothing more than that. So, anyway, progress went on after the 90s. Computers got faster and faster, and what ended up happening was the evolution of this model called the cloud-based model of computing. So, if we look at this, what we've got is the old setup I just described, where you want a website, and so you pay for a server out there to host your website, right? And everyone connects to it. Except your server that you're paying for is not a real physical computer. All right, let's say you got a real computer and let's say that runs Windows and that's your server. All right, well, the real computer is actually a massive giant computer running an operating system, and on that operating system is running software called virtualization software, and that virtualization software is full of fake computers. And the benefit to that is that those fake computers can be copied and pasted and dragged and dropped all around the world all at once, so that your website can stay on the internet all the time and be copied over here and then be copied over here. And if this server goes down for maintenance, you can just copy the file over here, and so your website never goes down because it's like a hot potato that can stay live and be copied and pasted. It's a virtual computer. It's not a real computer that you're paying for anymore. That's what the cloud is. It's a metaphor for the fact that the computers that most people are using through the internet aren't even real computers anymore. They're fake computers being virtualized on real computers, right? So we're back to this, except this isn't real anymore. You're sitting there at home, you're using your computer in front of your face. Your computer in front of your face is actually showing you stuff from back here. But back here is now can be anywhere and everywhere. I'm messing up my drawing, right? Furthermore, we've got this new Internet of Things economy, where now your light switches and your toaster and your home security camera and your refrigerator, they're also now on the internet. And they're going through the cloud. And so all the conversations you're going to read about this particular predicament are going to be about, have we put too many things on the cloud? Right, what has inviting cloud services into our life done to us? And what that means is all the corporations who are currently providing us services are all using this infrastructure. This is the infrastructure of the internet now, this cloud infrastructure. So we've got levels and levels and levels of complications here. And like I said at the beginning, all you at home, all you really know or care about is you're sitting down, you're using your computer, and there's no immediate feel for where the computing that's happening is happening. Like I said, back in the 90s, you would at least know, all right, my website, I'm paying for my server in Hamburg. So whatever I'm doing here is happening back in Hamburg, right? There isn't even any physical location for the computers that are on the other side of the wire anymore. There is. One of these computers is doing it somewhere around the world, but it's all become so abstracted that there's no feel for where any of the computing is happening anymore. And when there's no feel for it, the only thing you feel is the actual light switch. When the light switch works, it works. When you flick it off, the light turns off. And it's not until things go wrong that you suddenly realize there's this giant infrastructure between you and your light switch and the switch, the light bulb above your head. So, ideally, in one sense, and very, very dangerously in another sense, things are probably going to go towards peer-to-peer, deep web, private networking, right? Eventually, people are going to smarten up, right? Eventually, Joe Brown's going to smarten up and he's going to realize, listen, I want my light switch to connect to my computer. And that way I can have an automated home. I can have, the light can turn on and off, and I can do all the stuff that, these cloud services do for me. But it's all on my computer. And I own it, and, that's it. and all my stuff talks to each other. And it doesn't just all go through the internet. And things that go through the internet, they're all encrypted so that no one outside of my little private network of my stuff is connected to the outside world. And when this person's talking to this person, they're just, nothing that passes out through the public between this person and this person is visible to outside, right? It's encrypted. This is going to be what everyone wants. This is going to be what people are selling. It already is available, of course. This has been the way, security experts and people and activists have been talking about it for a very long time. But there's also a ton of downsides. You can't really regulate it or control it from the top down, right? You can't wiretap stuff like this, right? You can't stop fake news. If you can't control the social network that everyone is using, if you can't ask Facebook or Twitter to please delete, this fake news for me, if there is no Facebook, or there is no Twitter, there is no corporation between this computer and this computer that can control anything, then it's part of the deep web, the dark web, right? Now that everyone's been pushed onto the cloud, and it's a total, place of surveillance and top-down corporate control, all the rebellion against that, as people get a feel for the surveillance they've brought into their life, for all the control over their machines that they've given up, as the disservices of that loss of control become apparent, things are going to go this way, and it's going to be a very interesting time. Let's just put it that way. What's interesting is we have to ask ourselves how it is that we didn't really feel that this was what was going to go on until it happens. And that's, again, because the end user interface, you just bought a machine, a computer. You put it on your desk, you use the computer, the end, right? You don't get a feel for the total machine that you're a part of until stuff starts to break. And then you realize the complexity of what it is you're connected to and involved in. And that's a scary feeling when it's about having, all these massive corporations taking control over when your milk expires or whatever the hell else you bought a smart refrigerator for, whatever garbage that is, right? And it's because we don't want to learn anything about computers. We just want to buy a thing and have it work. We demand easy stuff. We demand everything to be as easy as possible. I just want this to be as easy as possible so I can forget about it. And so instead as a heuristic or a proxy, instead of learning what technology we need, we try to get a feel for what experts to trust, what brands to trust, what reviewer to trust, what magazine to trust, what other expert out there who understands this stuff better than I do should I be listening to. I just want to get a feel for trusting this expert. And whatever this expert says, that's what I'll do. Instead of getting a feel for all of our technology, we get a feel for who to trust and just ask them, right? So that's literally what a socially constructed world entails, is building your whole world out of a social network of people and brands and corporations and experts and magazines, and making that your world instead of making the actual technology itself your world. Because again, it's complicated. Who the hell wants to learn all of this garbage? Oh my God. No. Just tell me who to trust and I'll just listen to you, okay? Well, now we don't feel the physical environment that we're in. Literally, as embodied people, we don't have a feel for what's going on until we wake up one day like this guy and go, holy crap, what the hell did I do? Why? What giant chain of mistakes did I make to leave me sitting here not being able to turn the light on for my kid, right? For 40 years we've had computers, and for 40 years a good amount of people have refused to learn anything about them, and now we don't have a feel for the actual basic physical fundamental world that we are buying for ourselves. And all the experts who we want to trust, who we look to guide us, instead they all sold out to marketing. We wanted to make things easy, so instead we made them all opaque to ourselves. They are black boxes. We can't crack them. We don't know what's going on inside of our computers. We don't know how any of it works. So we're just looking for people to trust and help us through so we can do what we wanted to do. And that way is of course gamed now by corporations. We wanted security, the security of trusting other people to tell us what to do. Instead, we only bought empty promises. Not a sad story though, because there is this is literally teaching yourself a little bit more about technology. Is the hardest part is having the stick-to-itiveness to actually learn something fresh. So couple places I'd recommend you check out. Let's go with to start the EFF and the Free Software Foundation. Check out these two places. They're experts on owning your own computer and having security and control over the technology in your life. For now, while you're still learning stuff, I suggest you defer to these guys on lots of things. Go if you want a smart home, go find out what they think about it. And understand that the idea behind what I'm saying is, ideally, you get a feel for your machines. Not a feeling for your machines as these things that you don't control and that some corporation is making you do this stuff. And, I was at a wedding a few years ago that was delayed for about half an hour because the DJ's computer was installing Windows updates. And so they couldn't play they couldn't start the wedding for about half an hour, right? Stuff like that. Why are you slave to your machine? You paid for it. It's yours. It's going to take a long time for you to learn how to use it and how to own it. But part of that is the feeling of the machine, the feeling of your physical environment that you're in control of because it's your house, it's your castle, you have to take charge, right? Seems like a very roundabout way to address these things, but it's actually the most direct way to an actual semblance of control. Hope this has tied a few things together. I'll talk to you next time here on the Concerned Netizen channel. Subscribe, like, all that stuff. Thanks for listening. Take care.